Thank you for joining us. I'm Donna Girardi. I'm the president of the National Association of Academies of Science, and I'd like to introduce my colleague here, Hallie Thompson. She'll do her own introduction, but she's part of our staff team for at NAS and is terrific. We have some other board members also on the call, and they'll introduce themselves as well. This is an Academy chat. It's a series of events that we hold monthly on different topics. And we're really excited for all the states who are members to join us and learn. And the idea is to learn and share about what our respective academies are doing. And they're usually focused on specific topics. Today's topic is going to be on science policy. It's a topic of increasing importance, at least in my opinion, but also my colleagues here, of how scientists and engineers in states can inform their policymakers. There are a few academies, some represented here on the call that already have established certain kinds of science policy advising programs. Others there's actually a range of them represented here on the call. And there is an opportunity for NAAS as an organization to use our organization for academies to learn from each other and see what models are out there, how we can bring other academies that haven't quite been participating in this space yet to join us and find a match for them. To that end, we did receive a very generous grant a year ago from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation for the purpose of helping state academies to engage, for those who haven't maybe done so in a while, engage in strategic planning, think about where they want to go as academies, help build capacity, and with a special focus on how they might think about engaging in science more actively or strategically in science policy in their states. And so this conversation today is a step in that direction. And we have over the last year or so been putting together what we call a science policy toolkit. And Hallie Thompson and her colleagues have been putting this together, and we'll kind of work through that a bit today and try to engage, or the goal is to engage you as academies in conversations, both in terms of what you might already be doing and or what you might like to do as you learn more about what science and policy are. So with that in as background, I'd like us to just kind of all go around and introduce ourselves, our academies that we represent, and just briefly at this point say whether your academy is or is not or would like to be more engaged in science policy. So with that, I will turn it over to, and Hallie, I'm going to ask you to go last so that you can pick up the ball from there and take it to the next level. Okay, so with that, Philip.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Philip Winchell. I am the archivist of the NAAS and also assist in the planning for the AJAS. While I am a member of the Ohio Academy of Science, I am not an executive or a board member of the Ohio Academy of Science. I do know that Ohio is most definitely involved in policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll hand over to Carrie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Snazy Burge. I'm the executive director of the Nebraska Academy of Sciences. I'm excited to see that my president is also on this call today, so that's fun. I'm a board member for the NAAS, and I am the chair of the governance committee for the NAAS. Tessa, who you'll meet in a minute, and I have been really trying to look to see how we can use our academy to help inform the public, to battle misinformation in the state and just to be active. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of this call is what other states are doing, share what we're up to, and see if we can get any additional ideas. So, um, Jeff, why don't you take it from here?
Thank you. I'm Jeff Warzak. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Academy of Science and
Mm.
Engineering. And we definitely are involved in science policy work and in using our membership to inform the state government on technology issues. Oh, I'm
Okay.
supposed to hand it off. Nicole, I guess.
Oops. Maybe we'll go to Tessa then, and then Nicole.
Hello, I'm Tessa Durham Brooks. I'm at Doane University, which is a small liberal arts college outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. I am the president of the Nebraska Academy of Sciences. Um, like Carrie was saying, we've been doing a lot to try to um, increase our activity around, I would say, advocacy. And so I think another area that we probably need to gain more footing on is really feeling strong in what's like what we are able to do under our, within our um, what's in our jurisdiction, basically within our nonprofit status. So we talk a lot about like what is advocacy versus
Mm-hmm.
um, what is the word I'm looking for?
Uh, uh, more
Uh,
objective
say
or
that again.
more objective or
Like no, like we don't want to be
Lobbyists.
right.
yeah, right. Sort of lobbying.
Partisan.
Right. And I think we could probably like I'm always kind of I think we could probably do more, but we're kind of conservative sort of people in the state. So we want to like find the right balance of things that work for us. And I think we're doing a lot of things I think that are we're making a lot of good moves that I think are really in line with our mission and that are bringing a lot of people along the way. So I'm just excited to hear what other people are doing and get more ideas.
Great. Great. We'd love to hear about some of those activities, Tessa and Carrie, especially at this critical time. Thanks.
Hallie, are you still left?
Yeah, I think so. I think Nicole popped in the chat that she'll be right back. So we can circle back when she returns. But yeah, I was going to transition into giving you all an idea of what we've done on the toolkit, and I don't feel like I need to do an intro because I know all of you, but I guess for the recording's sake, Hallie Thompson, I staff NAAS from my home in Boonville, Missouri, where my consulting firm, Radical Consulting, is located, and it's the journey we're on as a association is so exciting to me to see. I was in Arkansas last weekend doing strategic planning with the Arkansas Academy of Science and just seeing the passion from states all around the country and wanting to get involved not only in policy, but also to think about their members critically, what they want, and aligning, their next action with that desire for membership as well as need from society. So excited to be here, excited to provide resources that you all need, and also to lead a little bit on the policy side since I have a lot of involvement in with my other hats in the fellowships world and here in the Midwest as well. And I saw we had someone new join. Robin, we're doing round robin introductions. Not to be a little funny there.
I also
And
joined from my call.
who did?
I joined from my phone, so I'm
Oh,
switching over to my
okay.
phone.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Cool, cool. All right, Robin, do you want to do a quick introduction? Donna, it was the Academy you're affiliated with, a little about the Academy's involvement with science policy. Is that correct?
Right.
Or interest in if
Or
you're not
interest.
involved?
Hmm.
Okay.
So I'm with Virginia Junior Academy of Science, and August, after we had completed our handbook for the following year, I went to a course on artificial intelligence, and I'm like, well, we really need to get on on board here. And so I wrote a policy for Virginia Junior Academy of Science, but we can't adopt it and put it in our handbook until next year.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Because I kind of came in too late. We already have sort of a statement, but I want students to, if they're using artificial intelligence to data mine, I want it to be part of their citations.
I see. Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, we
So,
already told them that they're not to use artificial intelligence to write their research papers.
Right.
yeah,
That's
we were
good.
just talking
That's
about
good
this,
advice.
Robin. We were just talking about that the Washington State Academy of Science is having a series on AI and use of AI in agriculture coming up. So that's hopefully a lot of academies are going to have more resources coming out on AI and research of all areas. I want to rewind the conversation a little bit to a higher level of resources that NAAS is looking at, that we've been making and that we're thinking of making for member academies. And then we can get back in the weeds and talk a bit more about details, what you all have questions about, and what you all see missing. So I'm going to share screen, but I'll also drop in the chat a link to the URL for our policy or our science policy toolkit. Let me know if you don't see it, but it should be there now. Basically, the idea with this toolkit is that there's a lot of resources out there. It's very challenging to navigate because there's such a volume sometimes of resources in the policy space. And to Tessa's point, it's hard to know sometimes what might be most relevant for you in the specific type of organization that you're running, which of course academies of science differ in their legal structure as well as the way they approach governing their academy. Some are junior and senior academies separated, some are together. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, but we were hoping that this toolkit would be a good starting place for academies of science generically to understand what their role could look like in policy making or relative to policymakers in their state. So I talk a bit in here, and this is of course a team effort. The leadership, Donna has been a part of this as well as Rachel Owen and others within NAAS. So this is coming from a lot of different minds that have done policy in different places, but we're still missing things, of course. But we talk about the problem here, that it's complex, that the problem is moving. A lot of discussions that are science policy related are moving to the state level. So there's an opportunity right now for academies. I lay out that opportunity here, or at least at a high level. Talk a bit about the importance of science in policymaking. So some of the things that science can help with, which are informing policy decisions, measuring outcomes, building public trust. There's of course more. I'm hoping that this landing page here can be a good overview for both academies that are looking to simplify the way they look at policy and think through sort of the core reasons, but also for academies that may be completely new to engaging in this space. So it's kind of a difficult audience, having kind of both ends of the spectrum. And we have, with Nebraska and Washington in the room, two different sides, I think, of that experience. So I'm happy that we have that right now. And I'd love to hear input from both of you as well as from you, Jeff, in Connecticut. I list out some ways that state academies can make a difference with limited resources here, just as a way to get started. And you might already be engaging in science policy, but you can still perhaps add one from this list to your sort of menu of options or list of activities that you do, or maybe reprioritize. Maybe there's something that you're doing right now that you would rather spend time, or you feel like it may be more worthwhile to spend time on another policy endeavor. But some of the ones on the list are keeping scientists informed. So that could be tracking what's happening in your state legislature or in your state at large in the government, sharing regular updates with your members and other partners, and sort of helping the scientific community in your state and region to feel in tune and sort of informed on what's happening in policy. You could also be related to that, and probably going along with it, is creating an expert database. So you have a list of who your members are, whether that be internal or external facing, partially one or the other, and key partners that will speak with legislators and their staff, so that you can draw on those people to bring them into important conversations and connect them with legislators that have questions. Something like this could also pair really well if you're looking at having a fellowship program where you have people that are interested in transitioning from scientific research, either temporarily or permanently, and want to be placed in state government. You might be able to utilize your experts as folks that help bolster the expertise of fellows. I heard, oops, someone had something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I froze or if you froze.
It could be either, Donna.
Okay.
And then lastly, just to dive in a little bit deeper, we have 3 sections that we have more details available. So in the section, what this toolkit contains, there are 3 subsections. There's a landscape overview, events and trainings that are available, and then a recommended process. So the landscape overview is basically a high-level survey of what's available as far as national resources and organizations are concerned. So that's like a AAAS, the National Council on State Legislatures, engineers and scientists acting locally, other organizations that connect scientists, engineers to either a network that you might not already be in touch with, or to resources that might help you understand how a county commission uses scientific evidence, for example, or how you can give testimony the most effectively. Those type of resources are listed here. And then in the second one, events and trainings, I'm trying to list there basically what's ongoing. So NASEM, has a series that happens periodically. I try to list some key ones there, maybe lectures that happen annually that are of interest in the science policy space, as well as AAAS having their local science engagement network webinar series. I believe it's been monthly over the past year. And a lot of those topics are based on community engagement, and some are science communication, but some are more policy related. And then the third, the recommended process, it is a step-by-step guide to building a science policy program, but it's also a way of thinking about the feasibility of starting a step-by-step program. So it kind of has a few branch paths within it. So it's got options for you to, and I see my link is not on here, so I'm going to have to go check the website and make sure it's working. But it's got options basically. So how much, as far as like money do you have to start with? How many time resources do you have? Like, what are your limitations? And then being able to choose your activity based on some of those limitations, and also grow as you're able to get more resources, hopefully with support of NAAS and other partner organizations in the long term. So this kind of a lot, but we're hoping it can be a place where we grow, where we add new organizations, especially to the landscape page, where we add new trainings and opportunities, also from you all as member academies. If you have things that you're hosting, like WSAS was talking about from the top of this call, we would love to add some of those recurring events or one-off events in there to highlight our members. And then for the recommended process, I think this is where I could use the most help in understanding what is useful for you all as far as what difficulties you're coming up against, sort of what thoughts you're having right now as you're considering engaging in science policy or perhaps engaging differently, and how can NAAS be helpful and connect you with resources that help you go through that process. And I'm going to stop sharing screen with that, and I will go make sure those URLs are working. But I'm hoping our discussion can be a bit about those big questions.
Hallie, your URLs are working just fine. I'm looking at them now.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're not working for you, but they're working for us.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
they are.
convenient. Okay, well, I'm going to try on my end for 1 second, make sure.
Yeah. Thanks for that overview, Hallie. And I, one of the things I like to say about state academies is that when you meet a state academy, you've met one state academy. And what I mean by that is every state is doing things very differently for many different reasons, history, resources, interests. So there isn't one right way to do any of this. All states will start from where they are. And this resource is really intended for you to look at it and say, oh, okay, well, a good place for us to start, for example, is acting as a neutral convener, or whatever it is, and what works for you. And this resource is just really intended to give you some guidance and some suggestions to get started. And then we are here as a resource for you over time. And I imagine that we'll also be building this out over time with examples, specific examples of, states that have done certain things different ways and with different kinds of outcomes or impacts, I should say. So, so with that, we were thinking that we would have, oh, okay, go ahead. Tessa, you have a question?
I don't have to have a question if you were going to take us
No,
somewhere
no,
else.
no, go ahead. We have time.
I think you were kind of heading in the direction where my curiosity was going, like, if we were talking as an academy and there was something um, no, I'm trying to use the policy toolkit that was of interest to us, then it would be nice to know who else had tried it, or to have an example, so that we could start to build like a network, to start to work on those ideas.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. That makes me think, sometimes these conversations need to happen in relatively real time or soon. And so just would like you to know that if something is emerging that you would like feedback on or somebody to talk to about it, just send us a note. Now and it will go into our email stream that's always being monitored by someone, and they'll field it to a person who might be able to help you, or at least be somebody to talk to about whatever issue it is that you're thinking about or dealing with.
Okay, thank you.
So, excuse me, we were going to break up into two groups, but since we have so few people, Hallie, what do you think about just keeping what do you know?
I
You
I
decide.
almost I almost still think it could be useful to have slightly smaller groups so we can get really in the weeds. Like we could almost have like a coaching session for
Okay.
folks that are here to just dive deep into questions. Would others find that useful to be able to talk about really specific things going on at your academy? Give me
Yeah.
like a thumbs up if that sounds good. I'm making you use the Zoom reactions.
Okay.
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 Well, maybe we try that for a little while, Donna. Maybe we do 20 minutes in breakout rooms and see if any questions are coming up that we can dive deep on, and then come back together at, I guess that'd be 4:20 Eastern time, 1:20 your time.
Okay. Let's do
Okay.
it. So the two groups are going to be with academies without current science policy work. So you'll go with Hallie, I presume, or me.
I can do without.
Okay. And
Yep.
then I'll do academies with science policy programs.
I'm doing it really quick. So without science policy. Okay, so everyone is unassigned to a room right now. You can assign yourself based on if you have or don't have a science policy program. And actually, if you're like, I'm a middling, like we kind of have a partial one, you can opt as well if you think it's more appropriate. You can change yourself.
Hallie, I'm in a car, so if you can assign me, that'll be fine.
I will assign you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go into my group. See ya.
Do this.
Does anyone else need help getting into their room?
Are you going with or without science policy?
Tessa, let's divide and conquer. You go to one and I'll go to one. But
Okay.
Holly, you know that I'm not super tech savvy. How do I go?
Uh,
What am I
I'll
supposed to
put
do?
I'll put you in the without, Carrie, and I'm doing it for you.
I'll go into with. All right.
All right, sounds
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
And
Welcome back. How was the conversation?
We need to hear the end of Donna's story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she was so excited about having an asteroid that named after her that and she wanted him, the rocket scientist, to know that. It was just the funniest thing. And so after that, the conversation was totally easy.
Okay.
So
So
you all were sharing stories about like practical experience um, and interacting with elected officials.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about I mean, it sounds like Nebraska and Virginia both are on the cusp of some really interesting opportunities. And getting over maybe some initial reticence on both sides to engage with each other. It's an important first step. And I know I've experienced that. I'm sure that others here, Hallie, you and Jeff as well, have had to get through that as well.
Yeah, I thought we could come back and do just a synopsis if anything high level came out of the conversation in your all's breakout room. Was there anything else, Donna? I was gonna say I just have a couple of things from ours.
I would ask somebody else to comment. Yeah.
I have a random, like, just thought that came out from ours is I think that something that could help kind of catalyze us a little bit is if there was a little, maybe something on the toolkit or a little training session on how to, like, if you are asked to speak to your legislator,
Hmm.
how do you do this, right? Because we did get crickets on that. So if we could have sent some resources along with it, or if it didn't seem as difficult, maybe we would have, more success that way.
Convergent thinking. Just
Okay, great.
I'm just gonna
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Donna, a question came up um, about the Washington State Academy of Science. You are obviously not a 501c3 because,
We
oh,
are.
you are,
Mhm.
even though you are in existence by force of legislation.
Yeah. So the history there is that we were created at the through legislation. The legislation itself included language that said that within 3 years, a 501c3 organization
Ah,
would be created, and we did. Yeah, that was part of
gotcha.
our bill language.
Okay.
Almost exactly the same in Connecticut. We were created by legislation, but it's really resulted in creating a 501c3.
Okay.
But you
Mhm.
guys still get funding from the legislature, don't you?
We do.
Yeah.
And in order to facilitate that, the funding flows through a state agency. And for all intents and purposes, that's Washington State University for us. So it's like state money to state money, so we get our money through WSU. I can go in the weeds on that, but then not here. Yeah. It's just very
Nebraska,
different.
Nebraska at one time also got funding from the state legislature to publish our transactions, but that has since, and I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, ceased to be the case. So
Yeah. What about you, Jeff? Does your state funding go directly to you as a 501c3, or do you have to go through some other?
No, it comes directly to us, but it's not really related to the legislation that created us, right? It's waxed and waned, and it's just annual effort to get it. Hey,
Mhm.
oops, sorry, I tried to mute in time. um, but yeah, we were able to get it directly.
Mhm. Okay. Any other comments from the other group?
I think, Carrie, would you like to talk about what we talked about? I think you might be a better representative from our group.
You think so, huh? Um, well, we actually talked basically about the exact suggestion that Tessa made, which was that it would be helpful to have in put into the toolkit a training that sort of talks about what you can and cannot do and how you train folks to talk to the legislature and to understand kind of the boundaries.
Yeah.
And the grant that NAAS got, um, it was suggested that maybe there would be some help from them, from the Gorman Foundation, to kind of understand those lines and what you can and cannot do. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's the conversation that we had. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
So
say,
What am I missing?
Donna, you had a question?
no, I was going to say let's flag that idea for discussion with the board. And uh, we did that kind of training, quote unquote, at WSAS for about, I don't know, a year and a half. We had a few sessions, and we brought someone in to help us with that, who was terrific. But what the takeaway lesson, or two takeaway lessons, I think, or more than that maybe, but is there's a difference between talking to your legislator about your area of expertise, which is perfectly, you know, within anyone's right to do that, right? Um, and and lobbying for a
Ah,
particular piece of legislation that might benefit a university or an individual. And
yeah.
I, what I've observed is that scientists are so afraid of talking to legislators in part because they think that any conversation with a legislator is going to be perceived by someone as lobbying. And it's just not the case. And that's just, I mean, if we could disabuse scientists of thinking that way, we'd be a long way towards having better interactions with policymakers. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking to a legislator about what you do and how you do it. As long as you're not saying, oh,
Well,
by the way, I need an extra $1 million to do X, Y, or Z.
that was another piece of our conversation, Donna, that I would be
Yes.
curious about is when Nebraska received this request for an expert, and I sent it out to every college and institution in the state and heard crickets, as Tessa said.
Hmm.
How did we were talking about how do you put into place, and I do you bring a committee together of folks that might be willing to be trained and learn how to talk to legislators, and then you pull from that group? I mean, are there steps up that I missed? Um, I mean, do you guys have a group of folks that are kind of your go-tos for this sort of thing, or is it? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how we could do better in putting something in place where you have folks who are willing to and who are frankly trained to speak to the legislators.
Yeah. I think that's a very complicated question. I don't think and Jeff, please feel free to weigh in here. I don't think there's any harm in a legislator having a scientist colleague slash acquaintance friend who they could call and say, can you help me understand what the science is behind this particular policy issue that we're thinking of drafting legislation around? That, and I think scientists should feel very comfortable responding to a request like that as an individual. It's basically information. Okay. Then there's another level of activity that, and also there's another group of people, and Hallie's more familiar with the details of this than I am, but there are these state science and technology fellows that are increasingly working not with, but in state legislatures. They're, well trained, uh, early career scientists generally who can take a deep dive in the moment to learn things that the legislators need. So that's another mechanism. And then there are some issues where there are really there's disagreement, there's a lot of complexity around scientific issues that around which a policy needs to be written. And it's better to have a group of scientists who are knowledgeable about that topic be empaneled to take a look at it. What's the best available science that could inform that decision? And it's not one person, it's a group of people who are brought together to do that. And that's an example of the kind of work that the the Washington State Academy of Sciences does quite a bit of.
Yeah.
Is the questions are difficult. Um, they're not resolvable really by any one person in particular. There's a lot of disagreement among the interested parties about what the you know answer is, and so they ask the Academy to say, "Can you give us your assessment of the best available science?" And that's never an individual; it's always a group.
Yeah.
So those are just some
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, so some of it is structural, right? We have technical boards that are organized around themes. And so that gives us a first place of understanding who's interested. Um, uh, but it certainly takes work and effort to make sure once the people join a technical board that they have some interest in activity. And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, only at this point, I would say only about 10% of our membership is active. So there's still work to be done there. Certainly, there's relationships, right? None of this comes easy, and so building relationships both ways with the scientists to the policymakers and from the policymakers to your organization and then back to the scientists is important, and that takes time. And then, as Donna said, really not focusing on any particular person, but on groups is really useful, and making sure there's a diversity of view and through a group you can help to pinpoint the areas where there's less controversy, right? So if you've got several people who are saying this is the same thing, then it sounds a little stronger than if it's one person and maybe appears to be their opinion. So that is a very effective way to work.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I want to come off video, but I can't because it still thinks I'm driving. So
Okay. Thanks.
apologies for
Thanks.
that.
Yeah. Thanks for joining in, Philip.
Yeah, one thing that came up in the Hallie Carey Phil group was trying to figure out where the line is between informing a policymaker and the carrying out of propaganda or attempting to influence legislation.
Yeah.
Because I dug up real quick. I know what the national NAAS just says that no substantial part of the activities of the NAS shall be the carrying on of propaganda or otherwise attempting to influence legislation.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, now that's national. The states are going to be different, probably.
Well, yes, but the rules are the same essentially for nonprofits. Nonprofits are
Yes,
not.
sure.
So, and that's it's kind of the general guidance that
But
everyone should
I
operate
I
under.
suspect that there is confusion as to knowing where that line is. Where do
Well,
you cross
lobbying,
over into attempting to influence legislation? And I'm not expecting to get an answer here, but I think that's a concern.
but I think it's a pretty easy answer though. Influencing legislation is saying, I'm Dr. So and so, and I think you should adopt or not adopt, Senate Bill 4321 for these reasons. That's advocacy. That is lobbying for a particular specific position. That should not be done.
Mm-hmm. Then what's
That,
an example on the other side of the line?
on the other side of the line, at least
So
in my, let me
Donna, I can
back up.
jump in. I
Go
mean,
ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, Case has no problem, and not that we've uh, done this successfully a lot, just but that's more of a timing issue. But we would have no problem like writing a written testimony or even presenting oral testimony on a bill, right? We just wouldn't take a position on the side. What we would present would be evidence-based information relative to that bill. Um, and so we wouldn't say yay or nay. We would just say the facts are. And that would be how we consider ourselves as staying nonpartisan.
Mhm. Yeah. It does take um, practice and attentiveness to the details and actually precise wording. So one can't go into a setting like that and wing it. You have to really
Mm.
be very, very mindful of the words that you use. Yeah. Now,
Yeah, I
oh, go ahead, Patty.
oh Donna, I was gonna change it. Go ahead, and follow up with Carrie.
So I was going to just comment in our session, Tessa mentioned that um, there's a talk coming up in April by the state climatologist about the climate change report that was just released. And I think that's a really great opportunity for that person who's going to give the talk to model the kind of scientific presentation that is, really objective, evidence-based, not, offering opinions about policy, but just basically being a scientist in a public setting like that. Huge, wonderful opportunity for that, scientific community around that really sticky topic, I guess, to model um, what real science looks like. Mm. Yeah. Hallie, anything?
I guess I am stuck on the point of that this is a little confusing, and though I think it is clear once you have enough information around sort of what lobbying is versus, what informational testimony is, and there are different, forms of informing policy decisions. I still think a training, especially for academies that are wanting to step into this maybe for the first time or the first time in a while, might be something that would be a good outcome of this call. And then I think, just having something along with the toolkit that gives either good access to other resources that help spell this out or offers, some general guidance from our perspective just could be kind of confidence building for the group as well. Because I know that's a big part of it is like just being confident that like this is okay, this is allowed, and this is something that we feel like is going to be, good for our organization. Um, so hopefully we can help with that.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there anything else, I guess, concrete wise? I was hoping to get a couple of ideas for concrete next steps out of this session.
Would one, and Howie, this is just kind of repeating what you said back. Um, Perhaps somebody at Gordon and Betty Moore could provide some legal insight to us.
Yeah, previously they've provided some support, some legal insight to the fellowships group. Great, a lot of them grantees. So we could request and see if they would have a have someone on staff who can provide like legal
That would be
guidance
great.
for the academies as well. Yeah, it's definitely a question we should ask.
Yeah. So we are a grantee of theirs now. So yeah.
Yep.
And hello, Paloma. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. Thanks for joining us.
No worries. Wanted to at least catch the last 30 minutes, so thank you for receiving me.
And I see that you're so affiliated with two academies. Gosh.
I'm very excited. So last 3 years ago, I joined Massachusetts Junior Academy of Sciences, and 2 weeks ago, finally, we inaugurated Puerto Rico Junior Academy of Sciences. So both states don't have, well, states, territory, don't have state academies. So I'm still kind of learning how everything would be, but yeah, very excited.
Great.
Paloma, are both of your associated academies sending students to AJAS?
Yes. So Puerto Rico has
Ah,
one confirmed. It has three delegates that the judges selected. And then for Massachusetts, we have seven, like
okay.
students. It's six presentations, six groups. Yeah. And I'll be there as well. So very excited to
Okay.
have like PR Jazz on my badge.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Philip, for being such a strong advocate for PR Jazz. I really appreciate it.
Great. Any other specific comments, requests, things for us at National to think about? Well, I would invite you to think about it a little bit. Send us emails. Let us know what questions that you have, topics you'd like us to discuss specifically in this arena. I people are going to get tired of hearing me say this, but I really believe it that states are where the action is. There's so much happening at the state levels right now. And it's really critically important that scientists and engineers feel comfortable interacting with their elected representatives. And so, how can we help? I think this is a great request that we heard today, and I'm thinking that others will emerge in the coming days as you think about it some more. So just let us know, and we can begin working with that to figure out how we can respond.
Yeah, I'm also hearing that a little bit more sharing on how different academies that already do science policy are structured. And not that, Nebraska is going to do what Connecticut is doing exactly, but understanding the technical boards, both the benefits and the challenges that come along with those and how they are used as a tool to engage both like with legislators, but also to understand your academy's, makeup of expertise. Maybe some of that is not going to go in the toolkit, the science policy toolkit, but it might go in like academy structure toolkit. So you all can understand one another a little bit better. Because yeah, I think it helps with
So,
these discussions.
point, and I didn't even think about this for this reason. We have a bi-monthly, and bi is confusing, so every 2 months uh, podcast, and the December podcast, which we're recording next week, will be on our tech boards and how we're using them to do government relations.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
We need
so
to share that in the newsletter, Jeff.
yes,
So
we
send
do.
it
You're
to
right.
admin at,
I,
yeah.
I didn't even think of it for that purpose, but yes, certainly it's a good place for it to be shared.
Perfect.
So I will post that. I'll get that information to you guys.
That's great, Jeff. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Any final words? Thank you for spending part of your Friday afternoon with us. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving week. And it's really great to see some new people on the call. So
Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.